So this is the FBX hierarchy editor tutorial for the FBX editor. In this episode, we're going to briefly go over the hierarchy section's functionalities. So if we go over here, we take a look at this model, suit man. We can see that he's actually sideways. If I drag him out, he looks fine, but you can see that there's a rotation here. If we zero this out, he's actually sideways. And the reason for this is a pretty common issue when you import a model from a 3D software like Maya or Blender. Basically the axis, you can see that Unity has a Y vertical axis. Softwares like Blender fairly certainly have Z vertical axis. So basically there's an axis on alignment. In Unity, the way to solve this is to either bake in the rotation within the software itself and then re-import it. If you've ever done that, you know that's a really annoying process. Unity also created this feature here, bake axis conversion, which should work. However, as you can see, it doesn't actually work for a lot of instances. Instead of removing the rotation, it just rotates it 180 degrees. So let's undo this really quickly. Thankfully, within the FBX editor, if you go to Tools, FBX editor, you're going to drag your guy up here, the model you want to edit. Let's remove this scene prefab. Let's quickly explain what's going on. So you know you're editing your FBX when you see this FBX editing text. Also, it will create a editable copy prefab within the scene. Anything you do to this will make edits to the editable copy, but it won't actually affect the prefab you're editing unless you overwrite or save a copy. You can also undo a change or restore the original. Okay, so let's look at the hierarchy editor. So the first two main options you have are to bake the scale or bake the rotation. Bake the scale is very simple. It just bakes the prefab scale relative to the original scale. So if I want to do 2 times the original, just put in 2, and it'll do that. If I want to do half the original, it will give me half. This is not the main focus for now though, but this is a useful tool. So bake rotation. So as you saw here, we have a -90 X rotation. So what you want to do is just apply -90 to your editable copy. Let me remove this example. And now he's upright. This is all you want to do. If the model is upright, then you're ready to bake. So let's save a copy. And when I close this menu, I will stop editing the suit man and the editable copy will go away. But you might have noticed it works correctly. And there's no rotation within the X. You can actually look at the mesh, and the mesh is actually correctly vertical. So that is one of the more useful features of the hierarchy editor. Now let's go to check out the other features. Remove our suit man. I'm gonna use this knight and quickly go over some of the features. So some other features are you can look at the total vertices, the total unique triangles, unique meshes, and then when you select an object, like this is the body, let me enable outline. This is the body. You can see that this particular part has 37,000 vertices, 63,000 triangles. You also look at his sword. It's only about 1,000 each. So one of the more useful features is just adding and removing FBX objects. So why don't we give him 2 swords. We'll duplicate this and then just put it here for example's sake. Doesn't need to be perfect. And then we'll rotate it just to show that we applied these rotations. And we'll also scale it up. So basically any edit that you do in the editable copy, when you save a copy or overwrite the original, it will apply those changes not just as a prefab but to the FBX itself. So you can see the actual FBX has the objects. So let's open this edited version up. I'm going to remove the scene object. So now I'm just going to delete this guy. I'm not sure why this keeps unselecting, but I'm going to delete the sword. And then if I delete and save it again, it'll change. Another useful tool is that we can export a selected section. So let's say I just want to export the helmet. I don't have this as a standalone FBX. It just came with the knight, for example. So I just want the helmet. I export this. I can export this as the name. I'll just default to the name. And then you can see that we actually have our own FBX object of just that selected portion. And you can see that the pivot and the rotation is off too. We would have to bake this rotation, and then in future videos you can check out the pivot editor and we will be able to solve that. And then the final feature, let's remove this guy, is we can recalculate normals. So kind of hard to see, but there's some visible changes to the shield. But yeah, this is just a very useful tool if you make any mesh changes, especially with mesh combination and mesh separation in the future. So yeah, those are more or less the main features of the Hiearchy editor. In the next video, we'll be covering the mesh combiner.